I work at a CVS that stays open 24 hours a day. I have been at this location for about 3 years now, and I am one of the more senior employees. I agreed to work overnight shifts because I figured it would improve my chances of getting another promotion, and I also wanted to stay in good standing with my boss. During the midnight to 8 in the morning shift, there is usually only one employee scheduled, since business is very slow overnight. Things do not really start picking up until the pharmacy opens at 9. The 2 employees working before me left once I was fully set up for the night. At those hours, barely anyone comes in, so my job is a mix of running the register and stocking shelves. There is a beeper at the front door that goes off whenever someone enters, so I know when to head back to the register. A few hours into my shift, I went to the front to check my phone, which I had charging there, and I noticed I had a new voicemail from an unknown number. I listened to it, and it was a strange voice that I could not even tell was male or female. I could not understand what they were saying at all, like the audio quality was awful. The transcription feature did not even work because of that. I brushed it off, since weird calls happen sometimes. Not long after, while I was stocking items, my phone started buzzing nonstop. I checked it and saw several texts from the same number that had just called me. The first message said, "Call back when you can." The second said, "I know you are at work. I am coming to visit." The third asked what time I was working until. I had no idea who this person was. I replied asking who they were. I saw the typing bubble appear for about 20 seconds. Then it disappeared without a response. That was unsettling, but I still had work to do. A little later, I heard the front door chime go off, letting me know someone had entered, so I went to the register and waited. No one came up to the counter. I stood there for quite a while, scanning the store, but did not see anyone. Eventually, I gave up waiting and went back to stocking shelves. It was probably around 2 in the morning by then. I grabbed a new cart of items from the back, this time beauty products, and rolled it to the second aisle. That was when I noticed a woman standing at the end of the first aisle next to it. I stepped into that aisle and asked if she needed help. She was looking down at a product near the corner and did not respond at all. I was not sure if she heard me, but it felt awkward, so I left her alone. I went back to the register to wait again, and that was when my phone started lighting up with more texts. Most of them were random and made no sense, except for one that said, "I am here." At that point, I decided to call the number. As soon as I did, I heard a phone ringing somewhere inside the store, and my heart immediately started racing. I felt this tight, heavy sensation in my throat. I ended the call, and the ringing stopped. I forced myself to walk back toward the aisle, where I thought the sound came from. The woman was still standing there in the corner. I shouted that the joke was over, and that I was calling the police, thinking maybe it was someone I knew messing with me. I moved back behind the counter, because I felt safer there. I did not want to call the police just yet, so instead, I called my best friend. He picked up right away. I asked him if he could think of anyone we knew with dark hair who might be pulling a prank like this. He named a few people, but none of them matched the woman's body type. He told me I was overreacting and said it was just a girl. I hung up, annoyed, and prepared to walk back over there. That was when I noticed her peeking around the corner of the beauty aisle. Only half her head was visible, and she had to be crouching because that shelf was lower than the others. The first thing I saw was blood running down her cheeks. She was smiling and making these disturbing laughing sounds. It looked like she had cut the skin on her cheeks near her mouth. That was when I realized she was not someone my age. She looked to be somewhere between 30 and 40. I took a step closer, and suddenly I recognized her. She was a woman with serious mental issues who had messaged me before using a fake account. As far as I knew, she was considered dangerous and was supposed to be in a psychiatric facility. She must have gotten my number from my Instagram, since my profile is public and lists my phone number. Seeing her bloodied face smiling at me made my stomach turn. I yelled at her to get away and threatened her, even though it was a complete bluff. I ran to one of the back aisles and hid. I did not relax until I heard the front door chime again, signaling someone leaving. I carefully checked the aisle, and she was gone. After that, I called 911. I filed a report, showed the officers the security footage, and told them her name and that she had serious mental health issues. The officers were calm and supportive and said they would stay nearby in case she came back. I blocked the number she had been texting me from, and I hope the police were able to get in touch with her family. I used to work stocking the dairy section at a grocery store, and it was easily the worst job I have ever had. It involved constant heavy lifting, dealing with expired milk and cheese, and being cold all the time. The large dairy cooler was located in the back of the store, in the same area where all the products waiting to be stocked were kept. I would sometimes hang out inside the cooler, no joke intended, because the supervisors never bothered checking in there. I always brought a hoodie with me so I would not freeze. One night, I was scheduled to work until 10 in the evening. The store usually became very quiet after 9. Unfortunately, Mr. Senko was the supervisor on duty that night, and he was a real pain to deal with. After refilling the milk shelves one last time, I brought the empty crates back to the storage area. As I was heading back toward the dairy cooler to hide out for the rest of my shift, I caught a glimpse of a face through the glass door of the cooler. It was there for maybe half a second before it either ducked down or vanished from sight. I wondered who could be inside. I opened the door and was hit with a rush of freezing air, along with the loud hum of the refrigerator. The room was filled with stacks of boxes, pallets, and crates of milk, but I did not see anyone right away. There were plenty of places someone could hide behind all the boxes, but it appeared empty. So I did what I usually did. I sat down on an empty milk crate tucked behind a tall stack of boxes. A moment later, the lights inside the cooler suddenly shut off, leaving it almost completely dark, except for a faint glow coming through the glass doors. I panicked for a second, thinking Mr. Senko had somehow caught me and turned off the lights to scare me out. I stood up and stepped out from behind the boxes, and then I stopped cold. Something was blocking part of my view of the cooler doors. I could see the outline of a very tall figure standing directly in front of me. It could not have been Mr. Senko, since he was fairly short, and this shape was easily a foot taller than I was. Just then, the lights flickered back on, and the figure I thought I saw was gone. I cautiously walked around the spot where it had been. I even waved, my hand through the air where I thought someone had been standing. I had a strong feeling that I was not alone in there anymore, so I pushed through the doors and shut the cooler lights off. I looked back inside through the glass, but the figure was still nowhere to be seen. I ripped off my apron and clocked out early. I did not care if Mr. Senko was angry. I just wanted to leave Dot to this day. That is the only truly paranormal experience I have ever had. I work overnight stocking shifts for different Lowe's home improvement locations in my area. I basically go wherever I am needed for the night, usually depending on which store has the most business at the time. My responsibilities include unloading delivery trucks, operating forklifts in the back and on the sales floor, and restocking shelves overnight. The truck driver working that night was named Paul, and he was the only other person in the store with me. After we finished unloading the truck, he helped me organize everything in the back room before heading out again to pick up another load. That left me alone to finish the rest of the shift, which was nothing out of the ordinary for me. My routine was to scan the new shipments for inventory, then move the items out onto the floor and stock the shelves. That is exactly what I was doing, walking back and forth between the warehouse area and the main store, sometimes using the forklift. While I was scanning items near the back of the warehouse, a loud crash suddenly echoed through the space and scared me so badly that I jumped and spun around. One of the large boxes had fallen off a tall stack of pallets filled with unopened packages. The box had not broken open, so nothing spilled out. I figured I would just grab the forklift and put it back where it belonged. Around that time, I noticed a strange smell in the air. It was unpleasant, but warehouses can smell weird sometimes, so I did not think much of it and kept working. Later that night, I turned the corner into the paint aisle and saw someone walking at the far end. They were dressed entirely in dark clothing. No one else was supposed to be in the store, and they were not wearing anything that looked like work attire. I shouted out to get their attention. The person turned around, saw me, and immediately ran down a side aisle. Instinctively, I yelled again and chased after him. When I reached the aisle he ran into, he was gone. He could have slipped into any number of aisles by then. I jogged down the main aisle, looking down each intersecting aisle, but I did not see anyone. I tried calling anyone who might possibly be on duty, but no one answered. I had no idea who that person was at that point. I assumed there was an intruder in the store. I headed back toward the warehouse, and as soon as I walked through the doors, I heard another loud crash from the back area. I ran over and saw that another box had fallen from the same stack of pallets. That was when I decided I needed to climb up and check the stack. I grabbed a ladder and carefully climbed up. When I reached the top, I noticed that boxes and packages had been arranged in a rough wall, surrounding a large hollow space. Inside that space was a man who looked homeless, dressed in all black dot. It was the same man I had seen earlier. The strange smell I noticed before was clearly coming from there. We stared at each other in silence for a moment. I did not even know what to say. He stood up and looked like he was about to rush toward me. I quickly climbed down the ladder far enough to jump off safely. I ran down the warehouse aisle, stopped, and called the police. About 15 minutes later, officers arrived. By then, the makeshift hiding spot between the boxes was empty. The man had taken all his belongings and left. After reviewing the security footage, it turned out he had been living in that hidden space for an entire week. No one had noticed because camera footage is rarely checked unless there is a specific reason. That was how he managed to stay hidden for so long without anyone realizing it.